Hi, everyone. I don't know if you could hear that. Rocket said hello. Come on, Rocket. Come join us. Uh, Excellent. So happy to have everyone here for our second call of February. I just think for a moment what month we are in. My brain did a.
Still February.
All right. So we have a new member joining us, Story. Hi, Story. You're welcome to turn on your camera if you'd like. We want to welcome you. And in the
Hi,
interest
gang. I
of,
need to turn on some
we
lights,
should
it
have
looks like.
another person, another Diana. Hopefully she's coming. But everyone introduce yourself. Say, of course, say your name, say where you are located, and the genre that you write. And Story, we won't put you on the spot.
You
We'll
can
we'll
put me
have
on
you
the
come
spot.
toward the end because in addition to those things, introducing yourself for Story, um, please also do your metaphor check-in. So Story can see how we do it. Your metaphor check-in is going to be a word or a phrase to indicate how you're feeling about your work in progress. And here comes Ezra. And there's the plug if you need to plug in.
Yeah.
And Ezra might be logging in with his iPad so he can watch the chat at various moments. And here comes Rocket. So Ezra, I'm not going to put you on the spot either since you're just logging in.
Yeah.
But would anybody else want to start with a metaphor check-in plus your name, your location, and the genre that you write? Anybody? I'm going to put us in gallery view and y'all can adjust. Yeah, Diana.
I can start. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm going to put you in the spotlight.
Cool. Well, since there might be another
Hey, let's see.
Diana.
Hold on. Not
Yeah.
able to hear you because of course I forgot to adjust my speakers. Okay. Give it another
Did
try.
it work
Yep,
now? Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
Great.
And since there might be another Diana, I'll give my full name. So I'm Diana Hussman, in case we have to differentiate.
Or you said what?
Let's see.
You kind of hiccuped
I'm
there.
Diana Hussman.
There we go.
Oh, my internet might be a
Okay.
little slow. Is it? You'll just have to let me know if and where I get slowed down. Um, Uh, and let's see, I'm located in Colorado, just north of Denver in a town called Broomfield. I write fantasy, and my metaphor check-in, um, it was funny, I was trying to decide. I realized that I'd been under a lot of like stress that had put me kind of into flight or fight kind of for a while. So I feel like I just escaped from like a dangerous forest. And now I finally get to like come out into the real world and like breathe free and feel good about being in the woods. So it's pretty nice to sort of emerge like this and realize, hey, I'm climbing up and out of the darkness and into the light a little bit.
Oh, that's nice. I'm so glad. Thank you and welcome. Excellent. Muted.
That's muted.
I'm muted. Oh my God. I was trying not to interrupt you, Diana. Yes, Hugh, can I put you on the spot? We have a new member. Story is new and we're name, location, genre, and your metaphor check-in.
Yes. Hello, everybody. I am Story. I live in Durango, Colorado, and up in the mountains. We're at 8,500 feet. And um, my genre is Western sci-fi. So that's the genre I love is Western and sci-fi. So why not put them together?
Why not?
Um,
Yep.
and I guess I would I love the coming out of the woods and finally being able to breathe, Diana. That was amazing. I feel I'm new. I'm not a new writer, but I am new at pursuing this career of publishing and getting some professional help with Beth and Ezra. And so I would say at the moment, I feel like I left the clean air and dove into a very confusing forest.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Welcome.
And don't know. Yesterday I had a full head of hair, so not really. I'm just kidding. But no, this is a fun adventure, and I'm excited to work with Beth, and I'm excited to be part of y'all's group and to meet everybody here. So hello.
Welcome. So glad you're here. So glad you're here.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for that check-in. I'm going to go ahead and call on Nicole. Hey, Nicole, give us where you are, your full name, your writing name, your genre, and your metaphor check-in.
Okay. So I am Nicole Andrews, and my pen name is Melissa Green, and sounds like you're doing a genre mashup, so am I. I write dark intergalactic culinary thrillers and a bunch of other sci-fi things. And I live in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Fabulous. And what's your metaphor check-in for today?
Let's see. How about a creative tsunami?
Ooh, a creative tsunami.
Nice.
That's wonderful. And just so you know, story, Nicole is blind and she calls in and she uses a screen reader for text, and I often read everything aloud. Well, I do read everything aloud so that Nicole can get everything. Oh, and that's Ezra's machine coming on. Okay. Interference. Great. Thank you so much, Nicole.
Yep.
Okay, good. Who would like to go next? Hugh, I'll put you in the spotlight. Thanks for being game there, Hugh.
Sure. Yeah, sorry, I was a few minutes late.
No problem.
So my name is Hugh. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and I write epic fantasy set in medieval worlds, and been working with Beth and Ezra for a number of years. They're pretty amazing people, and my metaphor check-in. Well, my last metaphor check-in was walking across a lot of broken glass because I was just struggling to try to get things back up and running again after just dealing with work problems, family problems, health problems. I had problems. So, yeah, my issues had issues. But my metaphor check-in today is I feel like I'm finally just climbing up out of the mud. And
Good to see you, Hugh.
and yeah, Trent, my gosh, it's been too long, my friend.
Yeah.
I concur.
Yeah. Well, good to see you, Hugh. And Trent, on that note, you want to go next?
Sure, why not?
Yeah. Introduce
Let's
yourself,
see.
story, where you are, what you write. Yeah.
Well, I live in Oakland, California, which is the same town that Beth lives in. And I'm a lifelong Bay Area native. And I too am starting out in this writing adventure, and I tend to write dystopian science fiction.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just seem to be drawn to that.
Yeah.
Um,
And you have book one of your series published, or books one and
1, 2, and 3.
one, two, and
Yeah,
three. That's fabulous.
and yeah,
Yeah.
I just um I just finished the final bit of number 4, and I'm starting on number 5.
Wow, a series. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, that's so great. And what's your metaphor check-in for today?
I am walking gingerly, not across glass because I don't have anything that dangerous in my yard, but you know, I'm trying to miss the rocks and such. I'm trying to work carefully with the last what I'm dealing with is like the last bit of stuff with my writing.
Mhm. Yeah.
So trying to get my words together. Trying to uh perfect what my last book is.
Mhm. That's great.
And this is definitely the last.
Okay. Book 5.
I don't think I got another one in this world.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. That's great. 5 books. That's awesome. Thank you. All right. And I think that leaves me and you, Ez. You want to go next?
Yeah.
And then we could always ask Rocket. Oh, maybe not.
So,
Introduce yourself. Well, the story knows you.
oh
but
yeah.
say hi. Everyone else knows you too.
So my name is Jack Smith. But I've always been Ezra Barani, and I write Jewish thrillers. I happen to live in the same city as Beth.
Yeah, really.
And we have the same pets.
Yeah,
Fancy that.
and that was just by coincidence.
Just by coincidence.
But it was, I was working on, well, so here's the metaphor lead in. I'm finding, the path and clearing it, and then there's some men in tutus saying, here's some glass that you should walk on. It's only been used once by Hugh. So before you continue on your journey, let's also like rain. When it rains, it pours. So let's pour salt all across the journey. Anyway, so that's kind of where I am. I feel kind of stuck emotionally.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, Ezra writes very inventive science fiction, fantasy, surrealistic, sort of is almost like a portal kind of thing where he has people in ordinary world and then they go into the dream world and they have adventures and they come back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah.
Very imaginative, very much inspired by fairy tales.
Mhm.
Yeah, which was very imaginative with a lot of invented things, cultures, and all kinds of amazing and adaptations from fairy tales. And when I met Ezra, he was writing surrealistic horror.
Mhm.
It was hard to read. I did read it because we met in a critique.
Wow.
Yeah, it was scary stuff, but actually it was more psychological than
Yeah.
graphic, Great, thank you. And do we have our other Diana here? Diana?
I'm totally not a fan of graphic.
Yeah, me neither. All right, so I'll do my metaphor check-in. Y'all know me. I was going to give you my location in terms of longitude and latitude, but I do not have it memorized.
Me
So
neither.
I know it's about 35 degrees, whatever. I'm forgetting which one it is. If it's anyway, forget all that.
Latitude,
Latitude,
longitude.
latitude. I think we're at 35 degrees latitude because we're exactly, if you draw a line to the Mediterranean, we're on par with Algiers. I've been to Algiers and that was a trip. All right, metaphor check-in. I use the train metaphor a lot. I like it. I feel like I'm going between cars on a train after making sure that each car is like organized and settled and the train is moving. So things are a bit rocky, like things are moving around, but it feels like, oh, those few train cars are organized. Okay, let's go to the next one. So yeah, I'm in beta reading mode with folks and bringing in some new beta readers and getting things cleaned up with a goal to get this book published by the end of the year. So the train is moving. Clickety clack, clickety clack. Oh, and it's kind of like in the Alps. So there's these turns and tunnels and, potential hazards. But thankfully, it's a steady train that makes its route on time. But it's up in elevation, and I don't do well in elevation. As you can see, I'm stacking on the problems. But still, I'm okay. Everything's okay. I have food. I have water. Ezra and I are on an adventure. Yeah. Okay, so that's my metaphor check-in for today. And great. I'm really excited to dive into the next part. So after metaphor check-in, we like to do free writing. And I really want folks to pull from your own work in progress. And because today's topic is about constructed languages, I want you to pull out a word, a phrase, the name of something that you created. And I want you to, maybe you already have a moment like this where it's in dialogue between two people. I want you to see if you can expand on that a little bit. And I'm often asking you to add in a sensory detail. And so today I'm going to ask you to add in smell, smell, taste, if you can. And if you can't, sound. Because we tend to rely too much on the visual in our writing. So bring in smell, taste, if you can, or sound, or both. Bonus points for both. So we're going to do free writing, and you could just open up your Word doc and start writing. And the idea is to take a word. Now, Ezra, do you have an example? It's funny, I'm having a hard time finding one. Well, let me give you an example. In my stories, in my sci-fi mysteries, my heroine says sometimes when she's really upset, she'll say, "What the regolith?" And people are like, "What's that?" So I've never actually done this exercise, but I could explain what this term means, regolith. I could have, I have her say, "What the regolith?" It's a, so I could have my main character say it and someone go, "What?" And have a little dialogue about that and try and incorporate smell, taste, and sound. So take something you've already been working on and see if you can expand it into a dialogue, because dialogue will give you the opportunity to do some.
I read a lot of dialogue,
Yeah, you write a lot of dialogue, smell, taste, and sound.
but yeah, I'm still working on that.
Okay, cool. So what we're going to do is I'm going to set the timer for 5 minutes, and Ezra and I are going to go off camera, and everyone can mute themselves and turn off your camera, and we'll go away for 5 minutes. And then in 5 minutes, we'll come back, and anyone who wants to can share, can copy and paste their words into the chat, and we'll read them aloud to share. Does that make sense, Story, what we're doing? A little free writing. And then for you, Nicole, go ahead and just continue on next with the next bit in your story. How does that sound? Sounds good?
Yep, sounds great.
Great. I'll see you all back here in 5 minutes. All right, that was 5 minutes. See, Ezra posted his. I'm going to post mine. Each of you are invited to post your own. That was fun. I invented some things. A scene, a moment that I hadn't had before. All right. People have things to post? Yep. Dan is working on it. Hugh, you're working on it too.
Hmm.
Almost there. Yay.
Right.
Nicole, how was that? Did you make some progress on your story?
Yep.
Good. Good, good, good. So glad to hear it. And let's see. It looks like we lost Trent. Maybe he'll jump back in. Great. Okay. We have a cat meowing at us. Come on, Rocket. Great. We got Diana's and Story. Are you going to post something?
I am. I'm trying to get it copied and pasted over.
Yeah, yeah. We totally know what you mean. It's the thing. Great. Yay, there's Hughes. One more.
Ah.
What
Okay.
happened?
I'm just
Wow.
like, trying to
Oh,
figure
that's
out how
cool.
to set it up. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can see the chat and the image. That's great. Come on, Rocket. Come on down. Great. How was this? Was it fun? It kind of stretched me, got me inventing something that I hadn't put in the story, but it was fun. I had a lot of fun. Excellent. Oh, thanks. Hugh's defining his characters. That's great. Excellent.
Did you get mine? Can
Uh,
you see it?
I cannot. Did you email it to me or did you put it in the text?
No, I'm trying to.
It might be too long. If it's too long, it will tell you.
Yeah, it's not. Okay, there it goes.
Okay, cool.
Got
I
it.
didn't really know what to do, so I'm
You
winging.
win.
Hey, we all start with exactly that. We don't know what to do. All right, Ez, you want to start reading? Ez is going to read them aloud. He's great at reading aloud. No pressure.
No pressure. I'm just gonna start at the top. That's mine.
Yep.
What is it like living in this world? Adela asked him. It's a lot like eating a smoked gambrel, he said to her. What's a gambrel? Is that like a gerbil? What's a gerbil? He said. It's kind of furry little animal. Would you smoke it over a fire and eat it? She imagined the gamey, bony substance that used a barbecue flavor to hide its taste. Her gut curled. Definitely not. Then gambrels are exactly like gerbils.
It's fun.
In the dark room, Janie stubbed her toe on something hard. What the regular? The room smelled of dust and something tangy. Lights, she shouted, but nothing happened. The room brightened. Isabel stood there with a quizzical look on her face. What is a regolith? How did you turn on the lights? I showed you. She touched a panel by the door and the room darkened. Hey, Janie said. Isabel switched on the illumination. Janie coughed from the dusty, tangy smell, bleary-eyed. What did you want? Regolith? It's moon dirt. What's a moon?
Thank you.
Right, Diana's. Clara was intrigued. So, all you have to do is say the words and concentrate, and you can cast a spell? Well, there's one more piece, he said, chuckling. We first have to drink the ether before we can cast a spell. Ether is a magical fluid, he added, answering Clara's unspoken question. Ancient spellcasters discovered that it enhanced their power beyond any other substance. Ether takes the words and visions inside your mind and turns them into reality. It feels like nothing you've ever felt before, like pure energy. What does it taste like? breathed Clara, fascinated by this enchanted part of the world she had found herself in. Bertram shrugged. How can you describe the taste of energy? It shocks your tongue more than the most sour lemon you've ever tasted, yet fills you with delight beyond the sweetest ambrosia. Ether is light as air and fills you from head to toe. But where does ether come from? Asked Clara. What is it really?
Really fun, Diana. The sour lemon, that's so vivid. All right.
Great. So, Tobiah is a mage in this section, and Arbala is an assassin. Arbala scoffed. Well, those townspeople sure were scared of you. Tobiah never had anyone scared of him before. He wanted to be respected, not feared. And if they knew how bad his magic really was, they'd probably laugh at him. I don't know, Arbala. It's so strange being around them. The way they looked at me, and just the way they feel. Feel? You weren't grabbing them, eh? Arbala chortled. Tobiah's face flushed hot. Oh, I keep forgetting that mages have no sense of humor. She turned and picked up her bag. No, Tobiah's voice cracked. It feels strange being around them. I don't feel the hum of magic when I'm with drabs. Arbella spun back around. Drabs? Is that what you call the rest of us? Ooh, that was a mistake. He still hoped she wouldn't kill him.
That's a wonderful reaction to have. There's an implied meaning there that they share, but maybe the reader does or doesn't know what that is in this. But in this scene, I like that there's a dramatic moment about the word instead of just curiosity. We've got drama.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. All right. Stories.
Great. This is Jep and Sarah, porch talk at 1813.
Which is a location.
Oh, 1813 is the
Is
location?
a location of a
Okay.
cabin. It's the name of like the cabin.
Got it. The porch of 1813 creaked gently beneath their boots as Jeb rocked back in his chair, stretching his legs out. A warm breeze carried the scent of mesquite and fresh-cut hay, mingling with the rich aroma of the coffee in Sarah's hand. Crickets chirped in the distance, their steady rhythm blending with the occasional nicker from the nearby corral. The stars were just beginning to flicker to life above them. Jeff grinned as he leaned forward, elbows on his knees. You know, I still can't believe you're here, Sarah. Feels like just yesterday you were training colts over at Sterling Ranch. And now you're about to step through a portal into Zephyrian 2B. That's gotta be the regular day at the stockyards, huh?
Really fun. Really great grounding us into the moment with all your sensory details story.
Thank you.
Well done. Excellent. Did everyone share who wanted to share? I think, yep. Okay, cool.
fun.
Great job. So hold on to your examples. We'll fool around with them, hopefully in the next portion. So in the next portion, I'm jumping us right into our lesson. I'm going to share my screen. And where is my stuff? There it is. Pretty sure this is it. Yep. Can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just hide video panel. So you'll keep an eye on the chat for us,
Mhm.
Ezra. So today we're going to talk about Conlang, constructed languages. I'm going to talk a little bit about what it is. We're going to talk about some examples, why it's important, how to use it, which I pulled from someone else's book because I don't have material on this. Ezra and I share our tips. We have a little writing exercise. We'll do another writing exercise. I gathered some questions ahead of time, so we'll address those. And then I have a few resources to share. Don't you like my fancy table of contents? All right. And this is user participation. So I will be asking for your participation every step of the way. So what is Conlang? I actually first heard it from a fellow writing teacher just a few months ago. And I believe it stands for constructed language. A lot of authors will create languages in their stories. Most of us are doing partial, very partial. And a few people who are linguists will like go full out and create full-on languages. And I think partial is just fine to answer someone's question ahead of time. And it can show up in your expressions, the special roles characters have, the names of clothing, the names of rituals, exclamations. I meant to add an S here, special creatures, cultural sayings, and the names that we give our characters and the places and how we name our places. So what else, when you think of the way language is invented in stories, what else? I actually want to add poetry in here, song. Like, I think those are part of this extended creation. Anything else? Did I leave anything out? I was reading just to give you a quick example for the name of, there was a creature. Well, I'll talk more about examples, but just to show you what I mean, there's a creature called Sampat, and actually the author italicized it always. And this was like in stories that are about witch, there's a familiar. We call it in English a familiar, but this was the term that the author used to indicate a creature that was someone's familiar. So anything else we want to say about the definition of what is Conlang? And everyone here is avid readers. It's okay if not. I'm going to move on. Everyone's good? All right. Next, examples. The most famous, Tolkien's Elvish. Klingon. Did you know that that's a whole full thing, right? Right, Hugh?
It is a fully formed language, and some colleges have actual study programs and degrees in it.
Oh my gosh.
Wow, that's amazing.
And I've heard some Shakespearean plays done in full Klingon.
Wow.
I heard it was a challenge because they were supposed to recite to be or not to be, but there was no to be verb originally.
That's true. Yeah, there is no copula in Klingon, so they had to sort of fudge it.
Budget. Newspeak, George Orwell. I'm not sure if that's 1984. Does anyone know offhand if the Newspeak is from? I forgot to look that up.
I think it's 1984.
Okay.
Isn't it for like shortening the news to as brief as possible?
You know, I don't remember. I didn't research these. I just grabbed a list. Interesting. Ladan, I've heard of this. This is a woman who's a Native American who created her own language for her fiction. Also, this isn't fictional. Nushu is a women-only written language originating from China. And it's often referred to as like well, look what this group of people created to communicate amongst themselves. And that's actually a real thing. Parseltongue in the Harry Potter series. This I did not know. Hildegard de Bingham, who was a 13th century German or Germanic nun, she created a language, which was fascinating. Lingua ignota. I don't know this author. And anyone read Christine Schreier and Neve? Let's see. Ursula Le Guin invented Kesh language for her story for Always Coming Home. Edgar Rice Burroughs did Barsoomian for his Martian stories, which I haven't read, but I love the movie, and there is some phrasing in there. Clockwork Orange, Ezra came up with Clockwork Orange, and the only word that I know from that book is grok, which has entered the common, we use it in our culture. Lewis Carroll, Jabberwocky. Ezra, can I put you on the spot?
Yeah, to read it or no?
Do you know it? You just off the top?
No.
No. Okay. Ezra read it to me when we were prepping for this. It's amazing. So call that up. Let's give a little example.
Yeah.
And then today I'm going to pull from this guy, actually, Nicole, thank you for the reference. David J. Peterson. He's written a book on it, which I have in the reference. He has created languages for Game of Thrones, The 100, Defiance, Penny Dreadful, The Witcher,
Yeah.
Motherland, which I don't know. Shadow and Bone, I saw some of that. Halo, which I did watch a little bit. Thor: The Dark World, the film, Warcraft, Bright, which I think I saw Dune 1 and 2, and
Oh my God.
Chakobsa. So Ezra's going to read to us a little bit of the Jabberwocky, maybe like the refrain.
'Twas brilliant, and the slithy coves did gyre and gimble in the wave. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the mom wraths out grabe. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the Jub bird, and shun the frumious Bandersnatch.
Yeah. I highly recommend you read the Jabberwocky if you want to get a sense of like how invented language and of course language we understand is put together. Oh, he's brilliant. Great. So those are some examples. And yeah, Kate Kenyon is an author. I just finished reading another 4-book series of hers. She does this beautifully with just little words in her sci-fi fantasy series. Anybody else want to throw out an example that they adore? We covered a lot of different examples here.
I remember the movie Arrival with Amy Adams. They had these strange sort of aliens that communicated in circles.
Yes, that is such a great example. And how time, by the end of that film, I felt like I had entered into a whole different sense of time. Wow, yeah, that's such a great.
Yeah, so they communicated like temporally, and there was in one of the Star Trek series, there was I think it was in Discovery, there were these aliens that communicated with lights as well as with hormones. Like, so you have to combine the patterns of lights along with the chemicals emitted.
That was
I
brilliant.
forget what they were called.
Yeah, they like entered a whole like different universe or something. They figured it was, yes, that was brilliant. So amazing. I see. Is there something in the chat there for us, Ezra?
Yeah, he was wondering like how conlangs get translated if your book is ever translated for non-English
That's
audience.
such a great question. I read The Two Towers by Tolkien. I read it in French because I wanted to be reading in French, but reading French literature is very challenging. So I read a translation and somehow it was communicated. That's a good thing to research. I don't have an answer to that, but I'm sure, I mean, really amazing translators, they find equivalents. They must find some kind of equivalent, or because if it's invented language, they could just use the invented language.
Exactly. That's my guess.
Yeah, that's a great question. All right. So
I have heard,
Diana.
I have some friends who have read Harry Potter in French,
Oh.
and they loved the way the names were translated. My understanding, I've never read it myself, but like Dumbledore received a name that's the French equivalent of Bumblebee. Like they really did it like their best to kind of capture the essence of the original.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. Wow. That is like an art in itself for those translators. That's just brilliant. Great.
I was going to say that, portmanteaus, well, not that it's Conlang, but when I was little, I thought I made it up, but turned out it's a real word. I used to call lunch and dinner linner. And it turns out that is an actual word. I had no idea.
Yeah. And that's a great example of how children, we do that, right? We invent words that stand for something that is conceptually like doesn't exist. And right, it seems like, well, the adults talk about lunch and dinner. How come no one, but we're eating at 4:30? How come, and then you call it dinner? So that's so inventive of you, Nicole, and a great example of the kind of inventing we can do. And Ezra and I are always making up words for things that don't quite exist, or putting two words together like you just did there. That's great.
Yeah, and then I can't remember how I found out that it's an actual word, and I was like, who knew?
Who knew? I know. And it's a really fun thing to do, to put together two words and to create something new. I think that's one of the most fun things. Great. Well, let's move on to why we even care. Why are we talking about all of this Conlang thing? And I think it was you, Nicole, who asked us to talk about this topic.
Yeah.
And so here's some of the things that I gathered, and I would love to hear what you feel is important. And so I think using languages that we invent is to evoke culture, is to evoke values and worldview, and also can hint at history. And I just want to say, like talking about dinner, the combination of lunch and dinner, it's actually reflective of something that is important to you, perhaps, where you are like dinner, or like in the Hobbits, it's what was it, second breakfast, right?
Yep.
Became a thing that we now talk about. Second breakfast, how first breakfast was so good, we got to have a second breakfast, right? It creates it's a value. I also think using language, invented language, is going to take us to some new place, actually a new place or places. We get to say something in a new way. We get to create a richer, more nuanced fictional world that's very alive and dynamic. It creates a sense of immersion. And I already have my what else in here. And cultural depths. And we get to reveal character as well. If we're getting into if we know about the language our culture uses, our story uses, we can actually start using it to reveal relationships between people and social status, that kind of thing. We could also create challenges, communication challenges in our stories. And this is where I like using it a lot, is hinting at ancient texts and prophecies that need to be decoded and things like that. That's so fun. This isn't something that I do so much, but if you know your language, your invented language well, you can use it to show evolution of language. And something that I use a lot is I borrow words from other cultures. So showing some cross-cultural thing. These are from some guy's book. So they're not mine, but not all of them. Why else do we want to invent language and story? And invent the names of things? Like even different, like what you're doing, Diana, story, what you're doing, like when you name a place, when you give an invented fantasy location a name, it has a certain resonance to us, the readers. And what you name something, it has a quality, Do you have anything to add, Ezra? Does anyone have anything to add?
This is a little different. It's syntax, where I wanted to make the texts the sound old. So instead of she always says that, I would structure it. Always does she say such things, put the always and the never in front. And I did that throughout.
Well, that's great. We're going to talk about that next in
cool.
in the how section. But is there any other reasons why we care so much about creating a new language, or the feeling of a new language in our stories? Did I hit all the points?
Your plot devices, I think it can be used as clues. Like as soon as I got to plot devices, I remembered Angels and Demons. I don't know if you guys have read that book, but they had ambigrams
Yes.
in the book. And you had to realize that like the visual thing you were looking at was also a word that you could read.
Yes, we love those. It was the first Dan Brown book was our date book.
Yeah.
We read it and then we started sending codes back and forth to each other, codes and ciphers. Yeah, absolutely. So I love that. The puzzle aspect of language and clues. Great, let's move on to how. So I grabbed some stuff. So the reference is David J. Peterson. He has a book called The Art of Language Invention. He's the guy who did all those languages that we mentioned above. And actually what you're talking about, Ezra, he talks about syntax, the order of the words in the sentence that you did to make it sound older, more ancient, historical.
Historical.
Yeah, historical. Or think of the way Yoda speaks, right? Like when he is speaking, it's like he gets conveyed the sense of wisdom because of the order of his words. So this guy, David Peterson, J. Peterson, he says to familiarize yourself with fundamental linguistic concepts such as phonetics, morphology, and syntax to create a more realistic and consistent language. Now, I wanted to simplify that because that's like, what are those big words? More
Nice.
phonetics, syntax. Like, we're not going to be linguistic majors, although I almost wrote.
No, but it's so much fun. Oh.
Yeah. So, but really, it's about the form of your word. Like, is your word simple or is it complicated? Is it rooted in a different language? English is great because we have Latin-based words and Anglo-Saxon, Germanic-based words, and then a whole bunch of other words that come from everywhere. Also, think about the function of the words, meaning the part of speech, and also how a word can have multiple meanings. And we've got our homophones and our homonyms and crazy things like that. And then lastly, the sound of words. That's what phonetics really is about, the sound of things. So how the word sounds. So if you think about simple versus complicated and kind of where the derivation or where the word comes from, if you think about the use of the word, the function or use, and if you think about the sound of the word, of the words, that's really what you need to keep in mind. I do like David's advice to practice speaking the invented language. Even if you're just creating a few words or phrases, say them out loud to get a feel for the language sound and rhythms, and it will help you make it more natural and believable. And it's a really great test to see if what you're creating is like usable to your readers. And then he suggests considering your language's evolution, especially if you're writing a story that takes place over, a long period of time. Think about how language might change and the meanings might change. You could use that as plot points or add texture and cultural details to your story. Also, I like this, embrace imperfection in the language. Our English is a great example. It changes over time. And his example is the use of gate in English, like Pizzagate and Iran gate, and how the word gate all of a sudden now took on an additional meaning in English. So languages change, and if you are writing a story that has a long time span, you could play with that as well. He also talks about using unconventional inspiration. He drew from unexpected sources such as Afrahili, which is a language created for West Africa. I don't know if that's a real language or not, but I guess he used it for his TV show, the TV show Defiance. So don't just use it like English or languages that have influenced English. Think about other languages that are outside your sphere of knowledge. Go to other cultures and check those out. He says to also consider non-human language structures. And he didn't really say what those are, but I think it's more like onomatopoeia, animal sounds, using language that makes sounds. And
yeah, like my 3 oral languages, their punctuations have sounds.
That's interesting. The punctuation has sounds. Yeah, that's really fun. That's really fun. So, and then Ezra and I have our tips. Our primary tip is to keep the reader in the story. Never use language to stop the story. And then Ezra, I love this piece of advice that you had. Do you want to talk about it?
Sure. If you have terms that come up, this is actually, yes. If it's a term that's not really a curse word or an exclamation, that it's more of a strange verb that is used for some reason, then it might be good to put it in a context where somehow it's really easy to learn the meaning without being committed to what the people are feeling, the characters are feeling. It could even be a dialogue where they're saying, what do you mean by that? And they find out. And then the second time it's used, the reader already kind of knows what it means, but also it's not embedded in a strong emotional state or um, a state that the reader is committed to and can read it relatively comfortably. And by the time that has happened, where the reader now knows what this word is, you can then have an emotional state that the protagonist is going through or the characters are going through, and the reader can get through the sentence without stumbling over and taking the reader out of the story.
Mhm.
That's a suggestion.
Yeah, rule of three, as I just explained the rule of three. Yeah, and this is especially great. Yeah, curse words, exclamations, important words, important invented words. Um, Ezra and I both believe you need to use them sparingly. And honestly, I don't think you need to invent an entire language, but it is important to have things that are unique to your world. I think you want to, it's fun to call them out, especially if you're in fantasy or you're like in my world, sci-fi world, I had like handhelds. And people told me, well, that's too mundane. That's like today's world. Come up with a term for something new. So use it for things that are unique and that give the, I don't want to say the ethos of a place. Like, let us know we're really in a science fiction or a fantasy world. All right, so let's move on to a little exercise. I just want to call your attention. I have a little Q&A. And I have a little resources. Nicole, thanks for the reference to this podcast called Conlang. And then I put 2 books down that are by David J. Peterson. He has a website, he has a YouTube, and he has a kid's book called Create Your Own Language, as well as the book I've been referencing, The Art of Language Invention. All right, let's do a little free write, and then I'll go to the Q&A. And the free write is this. Just take a moment to free write on the meaning and evolution, which is optional. Maybe you know it, maybe you don't, of your invented word or phrase. Like define it for yourself, maybe in the language of your character, your POV character. And then go ahead and somehow see if you can expand on what you've already written or continue it, adding in more depth for that word. Does that make sense? I'm going to put this into the chat.
And is the number 1 free write supposed to be inside our story, or are we just literally explaining like as if to you guys?
Yeah, to us.
The meaning. Okay.
Yeah, maybe with your author hat on. So it doesn't have to be in the voice of your character, but just so you know, and you're like brainstorming, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. Yeah, great question, Diane. And any other questions before we do another 5 minutes? Okay, let's dive in. See you in 5 minutes. Okie dokie. That was 5 minutes. You're welcome to share what you have. I ended up doing some research, so I don't have a lot. And also, my word is not invented, I realized. All right, we have me, we have Diana, we have Ezra, and anybody
No,
else?
sorry, Beth. I don't really have anything. I was struggling with one or two sentences and I just got stuck.
That's okay. You're welcome to share them or not. If you did some research on a word, that's what I ended up doing.
I was a little bit, but I think I'm going to pass on
No
this one.
problem. No problem whatsoever. While everyone queues up their things, let's see. I want to check in with Nicole real quick. How was that? Did you get some work done on your story?
Yeah, I ended yeah, I'm kind of simultaneously working some stuff out with Chat GPT, but hey, I figure it still counts.
Still counts. Research counts. Great. And we have Trent who's back. And yep, there you are. And Diana is here. Diana, who's a second Diana McDowell. Diana, you're gonna die, right? And everyone here knows you, but except for Story, and actually, I think you briefly met Diana Hussman. So, because we're deep into the call, can you just say real briefly, like your name, where you're located, and what you write, so that you can say hi to everyone and refresh our memories?
Okay, sorry about being late. I got kind of had a hectic day. But I figured it was better just to jump in than to ignore the call when I realized I missed it. So my name's Diana McDowell. I now live in Sacramento, California, and I write women's fiction. And what else did you want to know?
That's it. That's it.
Okay.
Excellent. Welcome. And you want to go by Di in the group? Like,
We could do that if it makes it better with the
Yeah.
two of us.
yeah, because we've got Diana and Di. Yeah, let's do that. And then we have, excellent. That sounds good. Great. Well, let's read people's stuff. And Ezra, can you start us off?
Yeah. So I'll read your full thing, yeah?
Yeah, it's fine. I just wrote a little bit more and then I did some research.
Jeannie blinked. How did one explain a moon to someone who had never seen one? Why are you in my room? She yawned in the middle of the night.
Typo.
You have a call on comms.
Yeah.
The regolith is the dirt of the moon, comes from the Greek rhesus, rug, blanket. Is somewhat uncertain or approximation.
I couldn't find what "ith" meant, but "ish"
Ish.
means those things. So I think it's like a rug, right?
I see. Yeah,
Anyway.
that would make sense.
Okay, keep going.
Although lithic is stone.
Yeah, but when it's at the end of a word, "ith."
Okay.
Regolith. Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
Duh.
a rug of stone.
A rug of stone, but it didn't say that in the dictionary.
Yeah,
Okay.
well,
We're smarter than the
boo-hoo
dictionary.
on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, keep going.
All right. So, ether is well known in fantasy stories, which is usually used as a magical energy source, spirit realm, cosmic substance, or alchemical element. In my story, words with I actually indicate the fairy origin of the item, person, or place. That's why we have ether, fairy, Daihan, which is the name of the kingdom, and Helmine, which is the name of the capital city and originates from the name Helmine, who is the first queen of Daihan. I never stated in the book, but the royal family have fairy ancestors. So their names often use the AI connection to both fairies and ether magic.
I really like that you don't explain it, but you
Yeah.
use the spelling for everything related to fairy. That's great. Right there, you've hinted at a history, and that's wonderful. And the readers will pick up on it or not, or wonder about it. It's wonderful. Excellent. How about you, Ez?
Great. So the backstory is originally in the dream world, a chef passed through the town bringing a batch of live gambrels. He showed the townsfolk how to smoke the gambrels in a fire and enjoyed their unique flavor. Townsfolk liked the new food so much, they had it every day. purchasing all the creatures from the chef. After 17.5 days of constant gambrel meals, the town lost interest in the flavor. Many came to despise it. The chef left town, but there was still an abundance of gambrels to eat. The townsfolk gave in, finished all the gambrels, and wouldn't stop talking about how awful gambrels tasted. The saying stuck. It's worse than eating a smoked gambrel.
What a great example of a history of a word. That's so great. All right, stories.
Great. The Clyde, short for Clock ID, is no ordinary wristwatch. At a glance, it tells time like any other, but its true purpose is far more extraordinary. When activated, fine needles extend from its underside, piercing the wearer's skin with precision. A specialized fluid is then injected into the bloodstream, traveling swiftly to the brain. The moment it makes contact, the body is thrust instantaneously through dimensions, transporting the wearer either to Zephyrian 2B or back to Earth. The transition is seamless. No portals, no machinery, just the silent, unfailing pull of the Clyde doing exactly what it was designed for.
Love it.
That's
You
great.
could totally use this in your story.
Yeah.
Story. Can we call you Len? I know your other name is Len. Can we call you that?
You can call me whatever you want. Lynn is great. A lot of people actually do call me Lynn. Lynn is my middle name.
Okay,
But
let's call
I
you
will
Len.
tell you that you guys, all of you, have really inspired me tonight. And the Clyde, I took out of my story because I didn't think I thought it was no one would like to, you know, that in my story. But hearing all of you tonight and talking about your stories, I've put it. I think I'm gonna put it back in.
I hope
So
you do. I hope you do. That's fabulous. Yeah, you got some clapping there from you. That's great. All right, read Diana's.
Great. A long time ago, over 35 years, I have used the word fugly to denote a feeling of discontent, of feeling fat and ugly. I can imagine that a character in my book would use such a word, such as, I woke up feeling totally fugly today, bloated, frumpy, and just not like myself.
Yes, absolutely. I've heard that in the culture. Absolutely, Diana. That's great. Um, Given our time, I want to dive into Hugh's edits, but I'm just going to answer what the overarching question that people asked when I was asking you all for questions is whether or not you need to do a full invented language, constructed language, or not. And my vote is always not.
Yeah.
Like, do whatever you need to evoke an experience for your reader. Those of you who've been here a long time know we talk about evoking an experience. That's our job. So do not go to the extra effort unless you're like want to go down that rabbit hole because it's so fun. But I say you don't have to. If you don't have a background in linguistics, you're probably not inclined anyway. But do put some time into developing little stories, little histories of the important words that you use. And I
I
think
had a friend in high school who invented a language.
really, that is so, yeah, I have,
It was just a replacement language, but it was, I mean, she had pages and pages of words that she invented. It
yeah, that's amazing.
was insane.
Yeah. Katie, who couldn't be here tonight, she was wanting to know how do you make the reader recognize the key phrases? And I think that is all about repetition, definition, repetition, and then using them like a lot of you did tonight, showing a little story about the word. And I think that would be that's really great. And then Nicole, I don't think you need to be hyper detailed, but I think an appendix is a good idea. You asked if you said you plan to have an appendix because you have 5 languages, 3 spoken languages, 2 sign languages, and a tactile writing system. So in your case, because of all of that, you probably do want to have little explanation and a little and an appendix. And is that a dog we see before us over there?
yes, this is
Oh,
Lucy.
Oh my God, what a cutie. Hi, Lucy. Excellent. Lucy can join us in edits. Great. We're going to dive into edits for Hugh. Hugh, what kind of feedback would you like?
Anything really that comes to mind. Everything from word choice to sentence structure to overall ideas. If anything is, unclear and what would make it better.
Great.
Like
And
overall say, hey, this would be better if you did blah.
blah.
Mhm.
Great. This is the opening of your epic fantasy, the very first 265 words. Excellent. And so, Len, we do every time we take 200 to 250 words about whatever we can fit on one page and double spaced and go over it all together. So Ezra is going to be our fabulous narrator.
Great. By the holies, what was that thing? Tobai quaked and gripped the lip of the battlements atop the capital city's western wall. A mile away across the expansive plains, an immense dark mass lumbered toward the city. Tobai winced against the autumn-chilled wind. Frigid sweat skittered down his neck. The soaked collar of his brown mage robes lay heavy on his gangly frame. Why had his harsh master brought him here? So useless. Tobai was so useless. His magic was a sputtering mess. His stomach lurched. Oh, crap. Threatening to return his undigested morning meal of gruel and dried fish. A metal gate below scraped open. Tobai peered downward. Drops of moisture plummeted from his forehead, perishing unseen into the ground far below. Soldiers on war horses gushed out of the city. Rhythmic pounding hooves tore up the parched soil into dusty yellow clouds. Even up here, the vibrations pulsed in his feet. He gasped at the raw display of force that was both intimidating and exhilarating at the same time. What must it feel like to be part of that strength? After hours waiting in the cold, something was finally happening. What would they find? Maybe the soldiers would discover a diseased animal, gruesome and fevered, and not a monster as scouts had reported. Then Tobai could go home into his quiet room with his treasured books and scrolls, snug bed, and sunny window. A chilling breeze drove the dust against the city wall and over the battlements, stinging Tobai's eyes and throat. He sneezed into his sleeve. His teacher coughed, muffled behind closed lips.
Thank you. All right. Great. Okay, so feedback. Any suggestions that you have for Hugh? Things to make it better? Also, I would like to know things you liked. Yeah, anything that jumped out at you. Let's help Hugh.
I love the senses, and
Mhm.
I've seen a lot of this before, and I still love it. The frigid sweat, the soaked collar, just the
I like how he takes the big things and makes them small,
Oh, yeah. What do you
or
mean?
vice versa. I mean,
Mm,
he talked about like gushing and stuff, and
Gushing.
it was
Yeah.
when it was small
Mm.
things that he's actually referring to.
Uh, cool. Let me find what you're talking about. Oh, here. Soldiers on war horses gushed out of the city.
yeah.
Is that what you're talking about, Trent?
Well, not exactly. I was just making a general statement.
Okay.
I assumed, I mean, he had like his sweat, all moisture plummeted,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
which is not something you think about with
Yeah.
plummeting,
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. It's almost like you could see the camera following that line of sweat
Hmm.
dripping off of him. Yeah. Great. Other things. I think the sensory details here, I feel like we're right there. And I feel the wall shaking or the battlement shaking too. I really like that.
And they had a lot of great details.
Mhm.
When with the one phrase, the soaked collar of his brown mage robe lay heavy on his gangly frame, I was thinking maybe a metaphor
Okay.
might help make that a little bit stronger
Metaphors.
because it's telling and it gives you so much information just in that one information. But I feel like it needs to, for me, I would like it to evoke more emotion. And I think a metaphor that I could relate to might
Right. Okay.
enhance it.
Mm-hmm.
But I love that it gives so much information and it's so important. He's got a brown robe, but it's a mage robe, and it shows that he's very thin, and it shows that the collar is so it's got a lot of information, and I really like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Great suggestion and praise as well. Oh yeah, here's the drops of moisture plummeted from his forehead. Perish unseen from into the ground below. Yeah. I was just referring back to what you said, Trent. I have a story thing, as you know, Trent. Hugh, we've been working on this so long. But I just keep I was thinking about rearranging just a tiny little bit. So maybe, and this is just an idea. First, we need to see what he sees. Maybe a mile away across the expanse of plans, an immense dark mass lumbered toward the city. And we could even say, describe the city, the medieval city, the walled city, some adjective that gives us some emotion and tells us what kind of, I know you have a medieval world, right? So we could say the crenellated city,
The shivering city.
the shivering city. And then we get his response to what this immense dark mass lumbering. By the holies, what is that thing? So now we know what he's responding to. Then we have his response, the quaking and the gripping and the wincing and the whole weather.
I kind of didn't like the being a mile away. What was that?
Oh, was that
Oh,
confusing?
yeah. Well, when I was especially thinking when I'm reading something that's fantasy and it's medieval type knights and stuff, and I don't want things to be exactly a mile. I want it to be across the dusty plain or something.
Yeah, we could do in the distance or across the expanse of, yeah, maybe you could add something the dusty or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you can give a sense of distance without actually giving it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. No, that's a good point, especially if we're in a world where miles don't exist. We don't know.
Just going to ask, was mile a term that was used in that time? It could be. I just don't know.
Mile is
Oh yeah.
in
And
Anglo-Saxon.
and quite often people go back to leagues.
Yes, league, right? You could use another word like that. That's more evocative.
League is 3 miles.
Okay. Good point. Good point, y'all. Good point. Anything else? Anybody else want to chime in? Any other things you want to improve that you're curious about?
I did have two questions.
Mm-hmm.
One was, I wasn't sure if the harsh master mentioned in the beginning was the same person as the teacher mentioned at the end.
Got it. Good call. So
Yeah, very good call.
yeah. So maybe you could replace teacher with master so we know that it's the same person. Would that help you, Diana? We have the harsh master and then we have master
well, it depends. I wasn't sure what the answer was. So if the answer is they're the same person, I'd recommend repeating.
Same person.
But if they are different, then you did the right thing. Okay, there you go.
Good question. Good call.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh
then
my, I didn't even notice that detail.
Yeah.
The other one was I was super curious what made his stomach lurch. Like it's that when you are feeling like you're about to lose your lunch, that is such an intense feeling. And that what I wanted to know was like, is this the mass in the distance? Like, is that creature just impacting him so strongly, or was it the sputtering magic? And like trying to start something and failing so drastically. Like, where is this coming from, basically?
You're right. It's unclear. It's basically he's lived a rather kind of uneventful life, and now he's in the middle of just potential death, and that's what's making his stomach sick. But it's not clear how I wrote it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, definitely incorporate that. That's a great question.
I might be the only one, but I really enjoyed actually how you have a crap in the middle of the sentence because it's a response that I know directly links to the stomach lurching rather than to anything else. And if you had said the entire sentence, I think the oh crap wouldn't come out as strong. So the way you have it.
Yeah, and I'm also trying to as part of the Conlang, I need to find something better than oh crap. It's too modern and colloquial. I think I had that in parentheses at some point, but
some magic word, some kind of magical word that might be part of his.
Oh, a magical word. Okay.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
like
that's cool. Yeah. Len, do you have any suggestions, things you liked, any questions you have? Yeah, feedback from you.
Yeah, no, I actually just enjoyed the whole story. I mean, everything you guys are saying is spot on, but I wasn't really looking at critique. I was just enjoying the moment.
That's great. That's great. I know you're new to this whole critique thing, but also I wanted you to see, and one of the reasons why I do this in the class is so that you all can develop your critical eye and learn how to articulate what you like, how it could maybe be different, or questioning like, I don't understand this. And that's how Ezra and I learned how to write fiction.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I'm a little intimidated by all of you. Y'all are so profound and so good, and this story is so great that I'm a little taken aback.
Well, you're getting up to speed real fast, so you're doing great.
Well, Hugh's a good writer too.
Yeah, definitely.
Listen, Len, I felt exactly the same way when I first started with Beth and Ezra. I felt incredible imposter syndrome. With just all of my early stuff. I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Same here.
Yeah, we've all been there. And that's part of why I come here is to just get the wisdom of the hive mind, helping me find things in my writing that I can't because I've stared at it for too long.
Yeah, and there's such great value in having multiple points of view on your work. I treasure it. I love getting multiple points of view on my work because it helps me see the work in all these different ways. And then I get to sift through it and go, and it helps me make my work better. Great. Well, I know that we're running a little behind. Hugh, was that good? Any other questions?
Oh, that was fantastic. This beginning has been plaguing me for years. And every time I bring it back, all of you thankfully tolerate my multiple revisions of those same first pages over and over and over again. And every time I bring it back, I get more on it. And I'm just feeling like I'm going to have a more powerful beginning. At the end of the day, I have stuff later on, like chapter 3. It's like, I feel really good about it. Chapter 1 is just like, what is this junk? So I do appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for your wonderful, wonderful insight.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. And also to underscore how much Ezra and I also work on our beginnings like a bazillion times.
Yeah.
It's not even funny. I mean, it is kind of funny, but it is funny.
I concur too.
Yes. And Ezra, can you read what Trent wrote? And I think the first name is supposed to be Zach, right? Because I know you're reading characters, Trent.
And when you get to it, skip the get before smelled or smell. Smell. Yeah, I put an extra get in there.
Once we get smell,
I see.
once we smell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go for it, Ezra.
Zach responded, I don't really want to look like a coward at all, but I really don't think that it's cowardice to not want to travel 2,000 miles. If you research the subject, you know it's over 2,000 miles, and that's just to make it to the water. Once we smell the salt water of the Gulf, I don't know how many hundreds or possibly even thousands of miles would it be. After all, Ariane continued, it's not my dream, but Diana's, your grandmother.
Right. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
It was such a
It took me a while to get it up there.
Yeah.
I was having
some tech issues, yeah.
difficulties.
As we wrap up today, share in the chat your takeaway or aha from today, something you want to bring with you into your own work. And also tell us what your next step is going to be. And I'm going to type in the chat
I
also.
was just wondering,
Yeah.
Ezra, you're a music lover. Have you ever heard the Sheryl Crow song, Run Baby Run Baby Run?
Maybe if I heard it out.
And she does this at the beginning of I just wondered because this is interesting for writers. When she does the beginning of it, she goes, she was born in November 1963, the day Aldous Huxley died. You know that song? Okay.
I don't know.
Well, do you know Aldous Huxley? Do you know when he died?
Huxley. Oh, he wrote
Brave New World.
Brave New World.
Yeah, I think I read
the
that.
funny thing is that I suspect that Sheryl Crow possibly had a different line at first because it's the day JFK died. But it's ironically also the day Aldous Huxley died and C.S. Lewis.
Oh, how strange. Great. We have some next steps. I'm going to work on edits. Ezra's going to always want to keep adding more sensory detail.
Yeah.
Hugh says, I'm so inspired to do more with Conlangs. I'm feeling more inspired about chapter 1. Woohoo!
Nice.
Thanks to all of you. Readers often, and then Diana says, readers often enjoy explainers, e.g. the story or explanation behind the Clyde and smoked gambrels. Yeah, totally. Readers love those.
Yeah.
Diana Di says, my takeaway is that invented words, language, or phrases can actually be used. Whoops, jumped. Sorry. Where did it go? Oh, can be used in any genre and can become a character trait. I will work on revising my manuscript. That's a great point. Yes, a character trait. That's great. I can't wait to see what you do with that. Story, Len says, my takeaway is don't stop writing. If it feels horrible, write it anyway. Next steps, bring back the Clyde.
Nice. Yeah.
Yes, explainers. Please put the Clyde back in. Yes, we all want you to put that back in, Len. That's great. Real quick, this coming Sunday is the writing sprint. Y'all will get the notification for that if you want to show up and do an hour of writing. Our member, David, who writes fabulous comic writing, he's our host for that. Tomorrow is also the last day of the AI Writing Summit. I'm going to be on a panel at 1 o'clock talking about something. I forget what. AI writing and applying that and things like that. The efficiency protocols, probably like how to use it to help you write faster. And then our next call is Thursday, March 6th in 2 weeks. And then also I'll be teaching next Thursday a class on heart-centered marketing for fiction writers, which you all actually have access to a recording of from last year. But if you want to throw some money at the organization, I'll be teaching at another organization and come live, you're welcome to do that. And then Nicole, you're our writer for next time, according to the list I have. So send me your 250 words before the call. And then what do we want to talk about next time? Do we want to do more about Conlang? Do we have some other burning topic?
Also, I had that one book that I'm trying to find the title for still.
Yes, can you please send that to me? Oh, you already did send it to me. If there's anything changed, can you please remind me so we will do a critique of that as well? Okay.
I don't really have any changes.
Okay, I have it. Let me make a note that we'll do Nicole and Trent for next time. And what do we want to talk about? What do we want to do teaching? I feel like Conlang is such a big topic. I did kind of a cursory thing. Ezra?
I just
yeah, it seems that I never have a real reason for that making languages.
That's okay.
Like when doing a work in progress, if even if you don't have the actual title at the ready, um,
Working
the
on?
title can be a work in progress,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it could be something that we can talk about in terms of conveying the promise of the experience.
Like a placeholder title.
Yes,
Okay, you want,
but
you would
that's
talk-
just a suggestion. I don't.
we could talk titles. Titles could be the topic. How do you decide the title of a book?
That could be good.
Because then I can incorporate, this would be a really great thing. Y'all could send us, this is what I would like. I would like everyone to send me their title and subtitle if they have one, and their series name. And I'll put this all in an email for you. And your reasoning. So we can all talk about what titles, the function of titles in today's market, because this is a marketing conversation. And why you've chosen what you've chosen, and also to see and get feedback if you want. You know, if you don't want us to touch your titles, then pick something you're ready to get some feedback on. Yeah, or just to, something I did is I shared with people the cover, the title, and the series name, and I asked people, who do you think this book is for, and what do you think it's about? And just to see if, and people would say, oh, it looks like an adventurous sci-fi mystery. You got it, right? You want people, when they see your title and cover, but we don't have to do covers, but title and subtitle and series name, or subtitle and series name, people need to know what it is. They need to know that what they're getting into, at least for the sci-fi mysteries and stuff like that. Do folks like that? Is that a good idea? Next time, that'd be fun. I see big nods from Hugh.
Sounds good.
Title, subtitle, which is optional, and series name, if there, which is also optional. Great. We'll talk about the promise of the experience. That should be the name of like a book or something.
Yeah.
It's really all about the promise of the experience. Okay, great. All right, everyone. Thank you for staying a little bit later today. Nicole, you didn't tell us what your takeaway was from today and what your next steps are.
I guess my takeaway, well, yeah, so I kind of got a confirmation about creating this appendices. So I guess that's kind of my takeaway was the confirmation.
Good. I'm really glad. I hope you work on that. That would be fun. Great.
And I think it was CSI had a play on words with appendices. Basically, somebody put a second appendix in somebody's body, and then
appendice.
yeah.
Who was this? Was this Hitchhiker's
Was it-
Guide?
I think there was NCIS or CSI. I'm not sure.
Okay. I thought we were talking about Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That would be something he would pull in there. Talk about invented words and phrases and names. Zaphod, Beeblebrock, for those of you who've read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
I know.
I guess that's it. Did everyone say what they're doing next and their takeaway?
And I had a girlfriend who always mispronounced the name.
Okay.
She always pronounced it Zaphoid.
Oh, well, you never know how something's pronounced unless you heard it on the radio.
Well,
I heard it when I was a kid. I listened to it as a child. All right, everyone, let's call it a night. Ezra and I are gonna
Pizza.
Can we get
Awesome.
the emoji, Hugh? Give us there's a pizza
Pizza
emoji. And great, there it is.
Yes.
There it is. All right, this is our tradition, Len. We always have pizza. I know some of you edits, which is coming, and also got to write a newsletter tonight. Well, it's already partly written. I got to finish it. All right, everyone. It's so great to see you. It's wonderful having such a full house. This is everybody or a full group. It's really wonderful. And I'll see you all in 2 weeks, March 6th. Some of you sooner. Have a wonderful night. And
Thanks.
good
It's
night.
great to be back.
Great
Good
to
night,
have you
everybody.
back, Diana. All right.
and
take
welcome
care.
back.
Nice to meet everybody.
Back.
I'm glad
Nice
to
meeting
be
all the new
here.
people.
Bye.
Good night.
Later.
Bye.